Welcome back to CrimePod Castle for episode 47 of our Unsolved Mysteries series.
Oh, wow, 47 already.
I know, right? Time flies when you're having fun. Or, I guess in this case, when you're diving into the dark side of humanity.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
So in this deep dive, we're taking you back to 2008 to a chilling case that shook the city of Delhi.
The Delhi triple murders.
Exactly. You might have heard about it, but today we're going to uncover those details and theories that you might not know.
The things that really get under your
The
skin.
things that make you wonder what really goes on behind closed doors.
And trust me, this case has plenty of those.
So why don't you set the stage for us? What makes this case so fascinating?
Well, we often think brutal crimes happen in places with obvious conflict, right? Like you'd expect it in the underbelly of society.
Yeah, makes sense.
But the Sharmas were different. They were a well-off family, seemingly living a peaceful life.
The kind of family you see in those happy holiday commercials.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then suddenly they're gone. It really makes you question everything you think you know about motive.
It's like the world flipped upside down.
It really is.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We need to understand who the Sharmas were.
Right. So we have Ravi Sharma. He was a successful businessman.
The kind of guy who had it all.
Yeah, you could say that. And his wife, Kavita, was known for her charity work.
Always giving back to the community.
That's right. And their daughter, Neha, was a bright student. Seemingly had a great future ahead of her.
A picture-perfect family.
From the outside looking in, they were well respected in their community. No outward signs of trouble.
But something went terribly wrong.
Yes. On a December morning in 2008, their housekeeper arrived to discover a horrific scene.
I remember reading about this case and just being stunned by the brutality of it.
Yeah, it's the kind of case that stays with you.
A scene so meticulously altered that even the most seasoned investigators were baffled.
Exactly. The crime scene was selectively cleaned, which is a huge red flag for investigators.
Really, cleaning up actually makes it harder to find clues.
It does. Think of it like this. Every touch leaves a trace, right?
Like fingerprints and stuff.
Exactly. Forensic teams look for fingerprints, DNA fibers, footprints, even microscopic particles.
Wow. It's like they're piecing together a microscopic puzzle.
Exactly. And when a scene is cleaned, it's like wiping away pieces of that puzzle.
So you're saying it becomes much harder to reconstruct the events and identify the perpetrator.
That's exactly what I'm saying. It's like trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing.
Wow. So the killer was not only brutal, but also incredibly careful.
Methodical, you could even say.
What did they find at the scene?
Well, they found Ravi bludgeoned to death in his study.
Oh my gosh.
Kavita was stabbed multiple times in the kitchen, and Neha was strangled in her bedroom.
Each victim a different method.
3 different methods. It's disturbing. It seems
Yeah.
so personal, almost targeted, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What was the initial reaction from investigators?
Investigators immediately wondered if those different methods were meant to send a message.
Like a calling card almost.
It's possible. Was each death meant to be symbolic in some way, or were there multiple attackers involved?
Those are some heavy questions to be wrestling with.
They are. And these were just some of the many questions that haunted the investigation from the very beginning. It's like each murder was a statement.
A horrifying statement.
And then there's the question of the ransacking.
Oh, right. I remember that detail from the case files.
Yeah.
It was like a whirlwind had gone through the house.
Exactly. Drawers were pulled, open furniture overturned, but valuables like cash and jewelry were left untouched.
Okay, so they trashed the place, but didn't take the obvious valuables.
Yeah, it's almost as if the killer wanted to make it look like a robbery gone wrong.
But wouldn't a seasoned robber know what to take?
You would think.
Why go through all that trouble just to leave valuables behind? It just doesn't add up.
You're hitting the nail on the head. It's one of the biggest inconsistencies in the case.
A real head-scratcher.
That's why investigators began to explore other possibilities. And one of the first theories they considered was a business rivalry.
Well, Ravi was a successful businessman, right?
He was.
High stakes, big money, cutthroat competition. It's not hard to imagine someone wanting him out of the picture.
You're right. Those high-stakes deals can create powerful enemies. And investigators dug deep into Ravi's business dealings.
Looking for a motive.
Exactly. They were looking for any disgruntled partners or competitors who might have had a reason to want him dead.
Someone who'd been burned by one of his deals.
Someone who held a grudge, but they hit a wall.
So, no smoking gun in the business world.
No, nothing concrete.
Okay, so what about a personal vendetta? Could someone close to the Sharmas have harbored a grudge?
It's a chilling thought, isn't it?
It is. The idea that someone you trust, someone who shares your life, could be capable of such violence.
It shakes you to your core.
Did the investigators find anything pointing to that?
Well, that was another avenue they pursued. They spoke to friends, family, even distant acquaintances, looking for any signs of jealousy, resentment, hidden conflicts.
The kind of things that simmer beneath the surface.
Exactly. But despite extensive interviews, no one emerged as a clear suspect with both motive and the means to carry out such a calculated attack.
So we have a meticulously cleaned crime scene. No clear motive and no obvious suspects.
That's where we stand.
What happened next? Did the investigators develop any new theories?
They did. As they pieced together the puzzle, a new possibility emerged. A professional hit.
Hold on. A hitman. That seems like something out of a movie.
It might sound far-fetched, but hear me out.
Okay, I'm listening.
The precision of the killings, the different methods used, and that meticulously cleaned crime scene all point to a level of planning and expertise that isn't typical of crimes of passion or personal vendettas.
So you're saying it was too clean, too organized for it to be an emotional act of revenge.
That's the thinking.
But if it was a professional hit, wouldn't they have been more discreet? Why stage a messy ransacking?
That's the paradox, isn't it? A professional hit usually aims for efficiency and a quick getaway, not creating a chaotic scene.
It's like they wanted to be noticed.
That discrepancy is one of the reasons this theory is so intriguing and also so perplexing.
So the professional hit theory raises more questions than answers.
It seems that way.
Were there any other theories the investigators considered?
There was one more, though. It seemed unlikely at first. A botched robbery.
Wait, but we talked about the valuables being left behind. Wouldn't a robber take the easy loot?
You'd think so, right? That's what makes this theory so interesting.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
The investigators considered the possibility that the intruders might have panicked.
Like they got spooked and things went sideways.
Exactly. The situation escalated unexpectedly, and the violence spiraled out of control.
So maybe they intended to rob the house, but something went wrong and they reacted with extreme violence.
It's a possibility.
But how do you explain the different methods used on each victim? That seems too deliberate for a panicked robber.
That's the challenge with this theory. While it explains the ransacking, it doesn't fully account for the specific choices made in each killing.
So each theory has its own set of strengths and weaknesses, but none quite fit perfectly. It must have been incredibly frustrating for the investigators to be hitting dead end after dead end.
It was. And as the months turned into years, the Delhi triple murders slipped into the realm of cold cases.
Cases that haunt the dreams of detectives.
That's a good way to put it. Cases that never really go away.
But even with the investigation stalled, certain aspects of the case continue to intrigue anyone who learns about the Delhi triple murders. Like the lack of witnesses, for example. This happened in a quiet neighborhood, yet no one saw or heard anything suspicious on the night of the murders. How is that even possible?
It's baffling, isn't it? It's a question that has baffled everyone involved.
You'd think someone would have seen or heard something.
You would, but there's nothing. Was it a case of collective amnesia?
Like the entire neighborhood walked it out.
Or was the killer incredibly skilled at operating undetected? It's one of the many mysteries that still surrounds this case.
And then there's that meticulously clean crime scene, which, like you were saying earlier, speaks volumes about the perpetrator. They knew what they were doing, and they wanted to control the narrative.
Right. It wasn't just about covering their tracks. It was about sending a message.
What kind of message?
It's hard to say for sure, but it could be interpreted as a display of power, a taunt to the authorities, or even a twisted form of control over the victims and the investigation.
It's a chilling thought.
It is. But perhaps the most perplexing aspect of the case, the one that continues to baffle everyone, is the lack of a clear motive.
We've explored business rivalries, personal vendettas, professional hits, even a possible botched robbery. Yet none of these theories truly provide a satisfying answer to the question of why. Why target this specific family? Why such a brutal and seemingly personal attack?
It's as if the killer vanished into thin air, leaving behind a void of unanswered questions that echo through the years.
A void that must be incredibly difficult for the Sharma family's loved ones to bear. To lose someone you love in such a horrific manner, and then to be left with no answers, no one to hold accountable. It must be a wound that never fully heals. What about the community? How did this impact the people who lived in that neighborhood?
The impact was profound. This case shattered the illusion of safety. People started questioning their surroundings, the people they interacted with. The not knowing, the absence of closure can be incredibly difficult to process.
It makes you realize that no place is truly immune to tragedy.
It's harsh truth, but a necessary one.
So where does that leave us? Over a decade later, the Delhi triple murders remain unsolved. Theories abound, but the truth remains elusive. It's a puzzle with missing pieces, a story with an unfinished ending,
And that's what makes it so compelling. It's a case that continues to fascinate and frustrate in equal measure.
a real-life mystery with no easy answers.
But even in the absence of definitive answers, there are lessons to be learned. This case forces us to confront the complexities of human behavior, the dark undercurrents that can exist beneath the surface of seemingly ordinary lives.
It's like looking into a mirror and not recognizing the reflection.
It's a reminder that we all have secret steps that we may not even be aware of.
It also makes you think about the importance of community, of looking out for one another and of speaking up if something feels wrong.
Absolutely. We can't afford to be complacent. We have to be vigilant.
Because maybe, just maybe, if someone had noticed something, had said something, this tragedy could have been prevented.
It's a haunting thought, but it's also a powerful call to action. We can't change the past, but we can learn from it and work together to create safer communities.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe someone listening right now holds a piece of the puzzle, a memory, a detail, however small, that could help bring closure to this case.
It's never too late for the truth to come out.
So if you have any information, no matter how insignificant it may seem, please contact the authorities.
Even the smallest detail could be the missing link.
So let's recap what we know. We have a brutal triple murder, a meticulously cleaned crime scene, and a lack of clear motive.
Right. We've explored various theories, but none of them completely fit.
It's like trying to assemble a puzzle where the pieces keep changing shape.
And just when you think you've found a piece that fits, it turns out to be from a different puzzle altogether.
A real mind bender.
If we connect all the threads we've discussed today, the seemingly contradictory elements of the crime scene, the lack of a clear motive, the meticulous cleaning, it paints a picture of a perpetrator who was not only ruthless, but also highly intelligent and deliberate.
Someone who knew exactly what they were doing and how to cover their tracks.
Precisely. And that raises a final thought-provoking question for you. Could the ransacking and the untouched valuables have been a deliberate attempt at misdirection? A carefully constructed facade designed to lead investigators astray?
It's like a magician's trick, a sleight of hand to distract from the real truth.
And if that's the case, what kind of individual would possess the cunning and the cold-bloodedness to orchestrate such a scheme?
It's a chilling thought, and one that underscores the enduring mystery of the Delhi triple murders. A case that reminds us that sometimes the most unsettling mysteries are those that hit closest to home. The ones that make us question the very nature of good and evil and the darkness that could lurk within the human heart.
Well said. It's a reminder that the world is a complex and often unpredictable place.
A place where even the most ordinary lives can intersect with the extraordinary and the sinister.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into one of India's most perplexing unsolved mysteries.
If you found this episode intriguing, don't forget to follow and subscribe to CrimePod Castle for more explorations into the dark and fascinating world of true crime. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and as always, stay vigilant.